All right. So have you ever, like, I don't know, tried ordering, just a simple slice of Black Forest cake in, say, a bustling Berlin cafe?
Hmm.
I did.
Okay.
And let me tell you, the seemingly endless kind of jumbled sentence the person next to me used, I mean, it completely baffled me.
Wow.
Turns out it was all thanks to this fascinating little thing, I guess, called German declension.
Yeah, it's true. Declension, it can seem like a secret code at first, you know?
Totally.
But once you crack it, it's like you unlock this whole new level of understanding about how German works.
So it's more than just like memorizing a bunch of grammar rules then.
Right.
What is it that makes declension so special?
It's all about understanding how German builds meaning, really. So you see, unlike English, which it relies heavily on word order, German uses, declension to mark the roles of words, like whether it's the subject of the sentences, the object, and so on. And it does this by making, like subtle changes to the forms of the words.
Okay, so even if the words are all jumbled up
Uh-huh.
in a different order, you can still understand the sentence because of these changes to the word.
Exactly.
Wow.
For example, let's take a sentence from the source material. Ein Mann ist einen Apfel. Subject, verb, object. Pretty straightforward.
Right.
But here's where it gets interesting. You could rearrange that sentence like to be einen Apfel ist ein Mann.
Okay.
And it still means the same thing.
That's incredible. It's like German grammar just decided to throw a word order party and everyone's invited.
Yeah.
But somehow it still makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do these word changes actually work?
Well, it all starts with articles, adjectives, and sometimes even nouns changing their endings based on their grammatical role in a sentence. Think of it like each word is adapting its outfit for the occasion.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Let's break it down.
All right, so let's start with articles. You have your definite articles like da in English.
Right.
But in German, it's der, die, or das, depending on whether the noun is masculine, feminine, or neuter.
Right.
And then you have your indefinite articles like a or n, which translate to ein or ein in German.
Right. I remember struggling with those early on, but it's more than just like the gender of the noun.
You're right. There are other factors at play here. To really understand how articles change, you need to understand something called case, which dictates the grammatical function of a noun or pronoun in a sentence.
Okay. So let's dive into these cases then. What do we need to know?
Okay, so there are four main cases in German: nominative, accusative, dative, and genitive. Let's start with nominative and accusative as they're the most common.
Okay.
The nominative case is used for the subject of the sentence, so the one performing the action. Think of it as like the star of the show.
Makes sense. And the accusative.
So the accusative case is used for the direct object, so the thing being acted upon. It's like the supporting actor, directly affected by the actions of the subject.
So in our Apple example, ein Mann ist einen Apfel. Mann would be nominative and Apfel would be accusative.
Exactly. You're getting the hang of it. And the articles einen, they change to reflect those cases.
Wow, so much information packed into these little words. This is already blowing my mind. Okay, so we've got our articles changing based on case and gender.
Don't forget number 2, singular or plural, that matters for articles as well.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Like every little detail makes a difference in German. But I have to ask, do native speakers actually think about all of this consciously, or does it become second nature?
It's a bit of both, actually. Like learning any language, it starts with conscious effort, but over time it becomes more intuitive. Think of it like learning to ride a bike. At first, you're focused on every pedal and every turn, but eventually it just clicks.
That's a great analogy. I can see how that would apply to declension too. But we've only just scratched the surface of articles. What about adjectives? They're like the colorful scars of the German language. They add so much flavor.
Absolutely. And just like articles, adjectives need to match the noun they're describing in case gender and number.
So how does that work? Do they have different endings too?
They do. Adjectives have what we call strong and weak endings, and which one they use depends on the article or lack thereof that comes before the noun.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. Strong and weak endings sound a bit intimidating.
Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Think of it like a dance. If the article already has a strong presence like die, which clearly indicates feminine, singular, and nominative, the adjective can take a backseat and use its weak ending.
So the article is leading the dance, and the adjective gracefully follows.
Precisely. But if there's no article, or if the article is indefinite like ein, which doesn't give us as much grammatical information.
The adjective needs to step up and lead.
Exactly. It dons its strong ending, adding that extra flair to clearly signal the case, gender, and number of the noun. It's all about creating a balanced and harmonious sentence.
I'm starting to see the beauty in this system. It's like each word is playing a specific role, working in concert with the others.
And to really appreciate the adaptability of adjectives, let's look at a specific example. Take the word new. New in German.
I know this one. I always mix up the ending.
Depending on the case, gender and number of the noun it modifies, new, can transform into new, neu, neue, neues, neuen, or neuem.
Wow, 5 different forms for one adjective.
Yeah.
It's like a grammatical chameleon.
Exactly. It adapts to fit seamlessly into any grammatical situation.
This is making me realize how much we take English grammar for granted. But before we get too comfy, you mentioned something about nouns also changing their forms. I thought they were the chill ones in this whole declension game.
You're right, most nouns get to relax a bit, but there are a few exceptions. Some masculine nouns, what we call weak masculine nouns, like to join in on the fun. They add an N or N ending in cases other than the nominative singular.
So even nouns have a rebellious side. Can you give us an example of this?
Sure, take the word student or der Student in German. In the nominative case, it remains der Student. But let's say we want to show possession like of the student. In the genitive case, it becomes des Studenten.
I see. The N ending pops up to signal that possessive relationship. So it's not just articles and adjectives that get in on the action.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of the genitive case, it's worth noting that most other masculine and neuter nouns add an S or S ending in this case. For example, the picture is das Bild, but of the picture becomes des Bildes.
It's like a subtle code, but once you understand the patterns, it unlocks a whole new level of meaning.
Exactly. And these subtle changes in endings help us understand the relationship between words, even if the word order is different. Remember our earlier example, ein Mann ist einen Apfel?
Yeah, we could scramble it up and it would still make sense because of the declensions.
Right, and that flexibility allows for a level of nuance and expression that wouldn't be possible if German relied solely on word order.
This is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
I never realized how much depth there was to German declension. But you know what they say, it's all fun and games until you encounter those irregular nouns. I bet there are exceptions to all these rules.
Right.
It really does feel like there are endless layers to this. I bet you anything there are exceptions to all these rules.
Of course. Language, I mean, it wouldn't be as fun without its quirks, right?
Right, right.
We were just talking about the genitive case, and one of the most common irregular nouns you'll encounter is der Name, meaning the name.
Oh, right, name. Yeah, I remember that one. That one always tripped me up.
Instead of the typical S or is ending in the genitive, it takes an NS becoming des Namens.
Always got to keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
But is there like a reason for this? Or is it just German grammar being delightfully random?
There's actually a really fascinating historical explanation for it. That NS ending, it's a relic of an older form of German. It's like a little linguistic time capsule.
Wow.
Reminding us that language, it's constantly evolving.
That's incredible. So like these irregular nouns are like holding on to the secrets of the past. And it makes you wonder what other like hidden gems are buried within German grammar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of connections to the past, you mentioned earlier that English, like, used to have a more complex system of declensions.
Right.
Did we just decide to simplify things and lose all the fun?
Exactly. English, believe it or not, once had a system of declensions very similar to German's. Over time, it's simplified, but we still see remnants of those old ways, like in our pronouns, for example.
Oh, you're right. Like I, me, my, mine.
Exactly.
They all come from like the same root word, but they change depending on their role in the sentence.
Exactly. Those different forms, they're a direct reflection of those older case systems. It's a reminder that English and German, I mean, despite their differences, they share a common linguistic ancestor.
Mind blown. I never made that connection before. This deep dive is really giving me a whole new perspective. Not just on German, but on English too.
That's great.
But before we spiral off into like the entire history of the English language,
Quiet chuckle.
let's bring it back to the German declension. We've covered so much ground. articles, adjectives, nouns. How does it all come together in a real sentence?
Okay, so let's imagine our student again this time. Der neue Student gibt dem alten Professor ein interessantes Buch. Can you break down how the declension is working in this sentence?
Okay, let's see. We've got der neue Student. So the article and the adjective are both, in the nominative case, masculine singular to match student.
Yeah.
Then we have dem alten Professor, dative case, because the professor is receiving something.
Excellent.
Okay.
And notice how the adjective alt changes to alten to match the case, gender, and number of professor.
And finally, ein interessantes Buch, accusative case for the book because it's the direct object. This is incredible. Even without knowing all the ins and outs of German grammar, I can start to see the logic and the elegance of declension.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's so fascinating about it. Declension, it isn't just about, like memorizing a bunch of rules. It's about understanding a system, a way of thinking about language. It allows for this level of precision and nuance that just wouldn't be possible otherwise.
This deep dive has completely changed my understanding of German. It's not just about vocabulary and verb conjugations. It's about appreciating this beautiful, intricate system of declension that underpins it all.
And we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore. The nuances of the dative and genitive cases, the different declension patterns for plural nouns, and the fascinating world of German pronouns.
Like a whole new world has opened up.
It is.
So to our listeners, if this deep dive has piqued your curiosity, don't stop here. I know I'm definitely going to be exploring more. Maybe pick a case and delve into its intricacies.
Yeah.
Or try analyzing some German texts and see if you can identify the different cases and how they impact the meaning of the sentence. Who knew grammar could be so much fun?